At first, we didn't even understand what was going on. Well, by we, I mean those of us who do not hold degrees in astronomy and quantum physics. We were told that the Earth's spin was slowing and would come to a full stop in less than 5 years. The first real hint that something was going on was the sudden malfunction of all GPS systems worldwide. Flights were shut down, and those of us who were raised in the computer age couldn't even find our way to work without it. It was about the second week when everything really started to go wrong. The oceans began flowing towards the poles. It didn't really seem like much, but it gave me a horrible feeling. And I began to realize that something terrible was happening, and there was nothing any of us could do about it. No one really knew why we were suddenly losing our spin, but rather everyone had wild guesses. Some were saying that the experiments to dig to the center of the Earth caused the magma in the core to stop flowing. Another attempt to blame the government, I suppose. Then there was the theory that our moon had fallen too far out of the magnetic field, causing chaos within the electromagnetic field surrounding the Earth. Lastly, of course, there was the theory that aliens were to blame. However, in reality, there were no reasons. There was no forthcoming admission from our government or from the aliens, and the moon sure as hell wasn't talking. The third month was when the looting started. As the oceans continued to flood the polar ice caps, the air in the tropics and certain cities of higher altitude soon became unbreathable. The scientists said it had something to do with the actual shape of the Earth, but I really couldn't wrap my head around the whole concept. All I know is, as people began to evacuate, people were being robbed at gunpoint, stores were having everything taken from them, and the stock market crashed. That was it. It took 3 months of us being under siege by an unknown and unnamed assailant for the world to fall into chaos. Humanity was losing everything that made them humane. I guess it really hit us around the 4th or 5th month of slowing. The Earth was spinning at 225 kilometers per hour less than normal. The days were 48 hours long, and the nights were as well. By now, the Earth had fallen into a complete state of misanthropy. Humans were no longer welcome. The earthquakes started up. They were hitting in places that made no sense, and had never seen earthquakes before. Long-dead volcanoes were suddenly spewing ash and magma in torrents. Thousands were dying, and they were not even going to be the last. As the oceans continued to move, Britain became connected to the mainland Europe, something that had never been seen before. Ireland was part of England, Cuba was connected to Florida, and Mexico was 3 times its original size. The upheaval was throwing everyone off, and fear and panic began to strike everyone. Even worse, only the top and the bottom third of the globe were habitable. The air around the equator was basically non-existent. Not even the hardiest mountain climber could live there. It would have been like living somewhere 3 times the height of Mount Everest. With that came the solar radiation. That part was easy for all of us to understand. Stand in the sun more than 15 minutes and you die. Pretty simple, right? Only, at first we didn't realize it. Did you know that the electromagnetic field prevents us from experiencing the worst of solar radiation and solar flares? Neither did I. I also didn't know that that same field is caused by Earth turning. Those who did stand outside too long died. Well, the lucky ones did. The others developed radiation sickness. It was horrible to watch. It was like all those old videos of Hiroshima. By the time 2.5 years had rolled around, the horrors that we had seen were like nothing you could possibly imagine. It is impossible to describe the low that humankind had fallen to, and what was seen by us at that low. Those people who stayed in England, Russia, and Germany had died, as the water began to suck up part of the northern hemisphere. Even American cities as low as New York and Chicago were gone. 6 billion people were wiped out. That's a number I can't even begin to fathom. Our days were more than 125 hours long. That means it is light for more than 60 hours. Our brains weren't even being given a chance. With that, the hallucinations were setting in, and the survivors of the radiation sickness had it the worst. They became the true version of zombies. They were eating people and living in cold, damp caves. They crawl out during the twilight hours, which last days now, and stalk people. They look for food wherever they can get it, which is usually not from animals, seeing as all the migratory species have died out and the non-migratory animals are smart enough to stay away. Even now, as we approach our 5th year, where it is light for 6 months and night for 6 months, these creatures continue to stalk us. Very few humans have chosen to band together. You never know when your partner is going to begin hallucinating from the lack of sleep and be caught out too long during the day. I had such a partner, and it was the hardest thing I ever had to do when I walked away from her. However, no matter how much you love your children, a monster is a monster. I don't even really know why I'm saying this, other than in hopes that if there is anything out there in the cosmos, any living sentient being, they can understand what's happened to us. I heard that there's a mega continent that opened up down by Florida where the air is still breathable for now, and there are seas in which to fish for food, but I don't know if I can make it. I want to, but in all honesty, I'm so tired. And it's hard to discern reality from fiction. And it's starting to get darker during the day. I know those creatures will be back, with their skin falling from their bodies and their hair missing in patches. The real nightmare, though? Knowing that this will never end. And if it does, none of us will survive. So please, if you see me, kill me.